Hi, Amy. Thank you so much for being here and talking to me today. I'm really excited to talk to you about your rescue. You are in very close proximity to me. You're in Ohio, so I want to hear about all the things that you are doing up there. I'm so excited. So thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. This is my first podcast, so I've never done this before. Um, so yeah, basically, I started a rescue because it was this weird thing with someone asked me in like 2015, if you could do anything, what would you do? And I was like, I mean, there's so many things, and they were like, well, I just mean like, without money or cares in the world, what would you want to do? And at the time I was like, oh my God, I want to like lay around with tigers and big cats and big animals, like I was like, I want to run a rescue. I want to help like sanctuary animals. And they were like, well, why don't you? And I said, oh my gosh, because money, and are you crazy? And oh my gosh, I was like, I can list a million things. I'm like, the space for it, just everything. And it was weird because like 3 days later, it just kept weighing on me. And I was like, why am I not doing it? I'm like, I don't, this is it. This is my one life. And maybe I should just try. So 2015, I lived in like Lowellville area in Youngstown, and I only had an acre of land, and I had this really big house at the time. So I had bedrooms where I was like, okay, that'll be the kitten room, this will be the lizard room, this is the ferret room. I had all these bedrooms and weird little nooks and stuff. And I immediately found out that the need for it was so great that I was shocked. Like I mean, I guess in a way that's why I started it, because I thought, when people called me and said, I got my son a lizard and it's not working out, we don't want to keep the bugs in the house. Like we didn't realize, there was no education. Will you take it? And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, of course I will. And then long story short, fast forward, I'm like, okay, I'm going to need to become an actual nonprofit. Like I got to do this for real, for real. So in 2018, I became a nonprofit and immediately started looking for a bigger space because, again, with the need of, hey, take my lizard, take my ferret, there was a, hey, do you take pigs? Do you take goats? Do you take, and I'm like, oh my God, like I want to, but I don't have oh no, so I found this place in 2020 in the middle of a pandemic, not knowing if the world was shutting down or if I was going to have a job. I still worked completely full time and ran the rescue for all those years. And then in 2020, I found the ranch. So I changed from Rebel Rescue Ohio, because it was a Ohio thing, when you become an LLC, and the whole thing, you have to pick a name. And then I became Rebel Rescue Ranch because I was like, now I can take all of those other animals that people have been begging me to take, for all these years. So 6 years running, and I have about 140 animals now.
Wow.
A lot.
That's a lot. I had no idea you had that many.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Wow. So it's safe to say that you are an animal lover at heart.
Yeah, I've always been. When I was young, every kid, I think, is like, I want a puppy, I want a kitty, I wanted bunnies. And I turned into this like little kid that wanted the weirdest thing, or what else can I get? And my mom was always allergic. So she finally let me have bunnies after begging her and begging her. I think I was 7 years old, my first pet, and it was two bunnies, and they were black because nobody wanted them. And it was like, even at 7, I feel like I just kind of knew that it was like, oh, nobody wants those, I want those, and so started with that. I moved out when I was 18, and I went and got the stinkiest animal I could, and I got a ferret. And my ferret was my favorite thing, lived in my apartment with me, and she was kind of free range. She would run around and steal everything and hide under the couch, and I just immediately knew I was more of like an exotic animal lover. Exotic. um which is just not your typical, animal. So again, it was like when you get an animal from a pet store and you don't know what you're doing, and you're like, oh geez, I got, this chinchilla or this guinea pig, or even the birds that you hear in the background, all these birds that I have. People get birds and they don't realize how dirty they are and how much care they need, and seeds are all over the floor, and and when you're watching your favorite football game, the birds are screaming in the background, and so people are like, we got to get rid of these things. And you can't bring them to the pound, so people were like, well, what do I do? And this was before Facebook pet rehoming sites, which I see all the time and just cringe. But
Yeah.
it was that kind of thing that I was like, wow, people need me. You know, people need this. People need, um, especially in a pinch where you really, not that you just didn't want your pet, but that you really fell on hard times. You know, again, 2020 was happening and people were like getting all these animals, and now we're reaping those. I don't know. I feel terrible what happened and what has happened and how everybody is full. And it's one of those things that happen that you just still can't believe, you know. It's,
Yeah.
but I'm still here and I'm still helping. And like I said, with 140 animals, I'm somehow, you know, it's working. So it's meant to be.
So, so will you tell us a little bit? I mean, you told us a little bit about your rescue, but would you tell us a little bit more? I'm curious, like how you're financed.
Yeah.
I'm curious about like, do you rehome animals or do they just come here as like a sanctuary?
Kind of both. I think it depends on the situation of the critter. So I wrote down because I didn't want to skip anybody, but I've had many come through and I've had more than just what I'm naming. But I have one turkey right now, 28 chickens, and the chickens have all came from a either a horrible situation. They've all come from different places. There's like four here, two here, one here, and it all came from either a hoarding situation or an attack. Like I had a friend that had a mink that attacked her flock and it was devastating to her. And she was like, I can't do this. I have four left. Will you just take them? And I'm like, yes, of course, bring them over. So those are the kinds of animals that just stay here as sanctuary in a way because they've already came from a stressful situation. They're kind of de-stressing. They end up bonding with everybody and they're kind of like a little flock. And I hate to be like, oh, anybody wants some chickens? Here you go. Take them, and then they, in a way, in my eyes, I see it as they came here to de-stress and just find home, find sanctuary. So those are kinds of, there are situations where someone will call me and say, I have this male duck. Well, I can't add another male duck. So I will just immediately find it a home or help, by giving someone maybe a reference or like, hey, try this place, try this place. Like I'll still try to help. If I can't personally take the animal, I'm still going to try to help find someone who can. So that's one of the things. But again, with my ducks, I have 6 ducks right now. They all love each other. They came all from the same place. I have 5 guinea pigs, 4 goats, 5 pigs, 20 bunnies here, 5 in foster, 1 chinchilla, 4 birds that you hear that are inside, and I have 32 birds outside in an aviary. They're doves and pigeons. They came from a hoarding situation in a camel area where I don't even think he was allowed to have them. And the people on the scene called me and said, listen, we got these pigeons. We tried to let them go and they're not going anywhere. And I said, well, that's because they're domesticated. People don't, I get it. There's pigeons everywhere, but these ones specifically were born and raised in captivity. They depend on someone to feed them every day. They don't really know what they're doing, so
Right.
we had to go and catch them all, and it was a whole thing. And a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine, Heather, who runs Birds in Flight Animal Sanctuary Wildlife, she helped me with that situation. And then the aviary was actually donated by a woman who I've never met before. She lives in Oregon and she is a pigeon advocate. And she said, listen, nobody opens their house or rescue 2 pigeons. They're considered like a dirty bird. Everyone talks bad about pigeons, especially like New York City and stuff. You hear about these things. And she was like, I am so happy that someone said yes to taking these birds. I'm going to donate this aviary. And I was like, oh my God. I mean, I just took them because there was nobody else to take them and I didn't want them to, get poisoned. I don't know what
Right.
they would do with them, but you can't just leave them outside.
Right.
So when I took them, I have this whole aviary outside, which they're all weather birds, so they're okay. But even on a day like today, it's like 2 degrees out there. We have tarps and stuff around the aviary. And they'll live here probably forever because I don't see anyone knocking on my door to be like, can I please have a pigeon? No one's probably going to adopt them, but in the scheme of things before, if I back up, I actually took 62 of them and I found 34 of them homes. So that was like, I was like, I deserve like a plaque for that. Like who finds
Wow.
34 birds, pigeons a home? But I have the leftover, the 32 I have now are probably just going to live here forever. I just added cats. So my biggest thing when I started my rescue was I'm going to be everything else, not dogs and cats, right? Well, here we are. I have 14 feral cats. They needed to move. There was a colony that was living outside here in Lake Milton, where I live now. And the woman that was taking care of them, she's, like 90 years old. She's getting up there. And I was like, oh my God, no offense, but if you're not here, who takes
Yep.
care of them? Who's going to take care of all these cats? And she's like, I don't know. And the neighborhood was just like sick of it. They're just breeding and breeding and breeding. I said, can I trap them and at least try to contain, TNR? Well, then at the time, again, TNR was the option, but also, which a lot of people are doing that right now, thank God, because I mean, we need it, but they still would be there. You can't just release them into the neighborhood that still didn't want them. We were finding them poisoned. One had a BB in its shoulder. I mean, I was kind of watching this colony for about 3 years, trying to see what I could do because I'm not a cat rescue. I was trying to just stay in my lane and be like, okay, listen, I have enough without these cats, so I can't do this. And then I thought, all right, I got to do it. So I have an indoor outdoor shed, and then they have a big space that's all completely predator proofed. I call it the cat condo. So I have 14 feral cats out there, and somehow I have 3 of my own cats as pets inside. I don't know how that happened, but they picked me and they won't leave. So I have those 2. And I even take fish, which is also weird, but there was a person that contacted me and says, listen, I'm moving. I can't transport my fish to California. Can you take it? And I'm like, you know what? Yes, bring it on over. So I have probably 30 some fish now. Um, and I have my dogs, my 2 dogs, which Rebel Rescue, my dog's name is Rebel. So although I do
Oh,
not take dogs, I will still help dogs. I still, they find me just the same, but I also try to work really closely with a lot of the dog rescues in the area. Animal Charity always is, someone who I've worked with in the past. And they call me when they're like, listen, we got these, whatevers. And I'm like, well, listen, I found a dog, so let's switch here, help me, I'll help you kind of thing. So that happened. I don't know if I said 5 guinea pigs. Um, yeah, I don't know. It just keeps going and going. I don't know. I can't
wow.
keep track sometimes. But
That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah, it's a lot, but I do this all by myself. I have about 4 volunteers that I love, thank God for them. And they pick one day a week. And I said, listen, one day is better than nothing. So just pick one day and come and just do the bunnies. That's all they do. They come and do bunnies and that's it. I have to still do everything else. And I have to walk 4 or 5 times a day back and forth to the cats. So it's a lot, but it's I wouldn't change it. I love that this is, and it's grown so much over the 6 years seem to just fly by. So 6 years I've already grown from taking a lizard to, like 140 some animals. So
Wow.
yeah, it's a
I
lot.
I remember I'm going to ask you about your pigs, of course.
Of course, yes.
Um,
I do.
I want to hear about your pigs. Do you like having pigs? Um, but that's kind of how you and I became acquainted.
Yeah. So what happened was, again, here's Lydia.
Hi.
Hi, Lydia. So when I first started out here at the ranch, it was goats first. Everyone was like, do you take goats? Do you take this? Do you take that? I'm like, okay, hold on. I just moved in. I'm still ripping out carpet in the house. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh. It was kind of like a repo situation for the ranch. And we hurried up and built a fence and we did a goat thing. And then I immediately was like, okay, I'm going to need some pens. So I was almost working on the outside stuff before I was even really living inside because I was like, the animals need me. Oh my gosh. And I had gotten a call in Campfield area, and they were like, this random pig just came running out of the cornfields. What do we do? And at the time, I wasn't ready for a pig. I didn't know what to do with a pig. Like, I was like, hold on, I got to make sure the fencing is correct. I got to make, I was researching, and that happens sometimes too. There's a sugar glider once came through here. I personally don't, I've never had a sugar glider. I had to look it up, and some people are like, oh, you call yourself a rescue. I said, but I will never know. I will always ask questions. I will never just know everything. So when this pig, which was an actual farm pig, hog, pig, I was like, I know this pig is going to get huge. I know that I do not have the space. What do I do? And I was in a total panic. I contacted everyone I knew, and you were one of the people that came recommended. And I was like, help, what do I do? So we found that was Floyd, Pink Floyd, and we found him a home at a different sanctuary who has just kept him as a sanctuary pig. So, because I said that too, I said, here's the thing, I understand that people eat animals, and I'm never going to stop everybody from doing it. But I am one person, and if that animal somehow got loose and made its way to freedom, I'm not going to give it back to the people that were going to slaughter it. I'm sorry. So I was like, not only do I have to find a pig a home, I have to find a pig a home that's not going to eat them. And
Right.
that was the hardest part of all of this, was that I was like, it's not a mini pig. Like, all of your people are pets inside, pigs. And I was like, this is an actual farm. It's going to be huge. So again, at the time, I was just panicked. Um, but then shortly after, I got a call about a mini pig, which I think I asked you about too, because I was like, so he was an inside pig. I can't bring him inside. Can he be out in the barn? There's a lot of questions. And again, I think each animal, each critter that comes to me, it's just whatever situation and what they came from and how can I help, even if it's not exactly the same and I can't bring him in the house and let him have his own sofa. Kevin and Kevin Bacon, which I know is a lot of people call their pigs Kevin, but he came to me in August of 21, and I built him a little space. He has a little couch. He loves stuffed animals. He walks on a harness. Like, he is everything I've ever wanted in a pig. He knows his name. He loves me, but he doesn't like anybody else. And he will bite you. And he doesn't like anybody but me. So I was like, how am I going to get him a home? I guess he's mine. So Kevin is my pig. Shortly after that, I got a call about a potbelly pig. Her name is Lily, and I named her name came as Lily, and I liked that because I wanted to name her Lily Munster. So I was like, okay, so I'll just add a last name to her. So she's a potbelly. So I have a mini pig and a potbelly. Lily came to me. She was 6 years old at the time, so she's 8 now. And she was living in a basement for 6 years of her life. The people that had got her as a small little pig, probably thought it was mini. And as she got bigger and bigger, the landlord was like, no, you cannot have a pig. And instead of them getting rid of her or finding her a home, they just put her in the basement and said, well, then we'll just keep her still. So she had no sunlight. She had no grass, no fresh air. She never came outside. And she got overweight because she wasn't doing anything. And she was stuck in that basement for 6 years of her life. So when I got the call, I said, okay, well, I'm going to help her, but how do we get her out of a basement? So we had a whole rescue squad that came and had to make a pulley system, put her in a cage, had to hoist her up. I had these football player men like helping. We got her here, and she really couldn't stand up for about 30 seconds before she'd fall back down. Like, she wouldn't walk, she wouldn't do anything. So the first time I got her outside was with a hog panel. I had to do, and she was mad the whole time. She was screaming and mad at me. I said, listen, just go outside. You're gonna like it. Finally got her outside with the goats. And she was like, I mean, I was crying, sobbing, because she saw grass and was like, what? And she immediately just flopped over and was like rolling in this grass, and the sunlight was hitting her. And I was like, oh, she had no hair. And now she's full black, full thick hair. She goes out, she chases after the goats all the time. She's lost about 100 pounds since she's been with me. Um,
Wow.
her belly would drag on the ground, and her eyes, pot bellies have that anyway, but they have a droopy, her eyes were like covering with her fat rolls.
Yeah.
And now they're there, I'm like, oh my God, you have eyeballs. So she's really great. But again, no one's banging on my door for a pig. So it's like, if Lily stays here forever, so be it. So here we go. And then I got a call about these coons, which are my favorite pigs in the whole wide world. Don't tell Kevin. Don't, no offense, Lily. But I got this call, and these coons were living in an area where there was no running water and there was no shelter. It was like this makeshift pen. I don't know how they didn't just push it over, because they could, they could have. It was like chained. It was a very weird thing. And the people living there took them as a favor for the other people that were moving or something like that. It was this whole like trickle down effect. and they were going to get evicted because they didn't have running water and they didn't have even a house on the property. It was like a camper.
Okay.
So they weren't like allowed to live there, I guess. And so I called a friend of mine and I said, okay, guys, this is what we're gonna do. We're just gonna try. And we had like, our panels and we were like, just go ahead. And I had a banana and I was like, come on, guys. And they acted like they have known me forever. And they knew that I was coming to help them. And they were like, let's go. Where do you want me? Up in here? Yep, I'll just go. And they went and I went, I mean, I have a video of it and my face is like, because I couldn't believe they just went in the vehicle. We didn't even have to like push up nothing. They just followed me in with the banana. And I was like, oh my God. So now they're my favorite pigs.
Yeah.
I
Coon
love,
coons. Oh, they have such a nice temperament.
oh my God, their faces and their personalities and just and they're way too big. They were overfed, they were being fed trash. And the guy even said, he's like, oh yeah, they eat everything. I'm like, oh, but they shouldn't,
Yeah.
So again, it's another thing with people and pigs thinking they just eat whatever, I'm like, they still got to be on a diet. You still got to watch what they're eating. That's with any animal, not eat. And so it was a whole thing. But anyway, they are now here and I named them Oogie and Boogie because it was in October and I like Nightmare Before Christmas and they were black and white. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just love you guys. I'm like Oogie and Boogie. So we don't know their age, but they're probably around 2-ish now. And like I said, I think if anyone did come knocking on my door for a pig, you're not taking Oogie and Boogie because I obsessed
Mhm.
with them and I love them. So I have now turned into the crazy pig lady who is like keeping all the pigs for myself because I love them. And the fact that I have a different breed, everybody different breed of every pig, that I'm just like, this is such a well-rounded like space for people to come learn about pigs, if nothing else. Um, and then just recently, November of 2023, I took in Maggie, who is a hog. She's 350 pounds. She is bigger than Floyd ever is. And I took her because I got a call. She was saved from slaughter. And the people that saved her, which I think she was bought, how they do a sale at
Yeah.
the fairs and stuff. It was like an auction, something like that. And someone was like, oh my God, she's walking on a harness. She's a pig, but she kind of is amazing. So what do we do? And she was raised by a kid and the kid loved that pig. And
Oh,
the family was like, all right, well, we're gonna buy this pig, this hog. So they continued walking around a harness, and as she got bigger and bigger and bigger, she still walks on a harness. I have a harness big enough to fit around her entire body, and she lets me put it on. I bear hug her, I'm like, come on, we're going on a walk. And she doesn't pull me. She could pull my arm out of my socket if she wanted to. She doesn't. She's amazing. She follows my every step. If I stop, she stops. I mean, she is amazing. She knows her name. Her name is Maggie, and it came with that name. So I was like, all right, I'll just let her keep that name, and I do. She'll get into trouble and she'll be knocking something over or doing something, and my turkey will come running in and be like, oh, cool, we're getting into something, and I'm like, oh, no, no, no. And I say, Maggie, and she stops and she looks at me and I'm like, who are you? It's amazing. So, and she's the most gentle. She will let anyone pet her, and I just grab her face and I mean, she is the most amazing. She takes treats from your hand, so gentle. Your fingers are in there too, and she just like lips them. Like she's not,
uh-huh.
it's amazing. So I love having her around because then people that do come and see how big the coon coons are, I'm like, oh no. Like wait
Right.
till you meet Maggie. And then they're like, oh my God, that's a giant pig. And I'm like, and then they can all pet her and hug her. And they're like, oh, and they realize, and I say, come on, Maggie. And they see the interaction and it just changes the persona of what a pig is, you know what I mean? So I do like having the mini pig, the potbelly, the coon coon, the hog. I like having kind of one of everything because then people really see maybe what they're getting into too. Not necessarily that they might not want my 8-year-old, potbelly, but if they're thinking of a pig, maybe they can come and meet and see the temperaments and different things,
Mhm.
who doesn't, that kind of stuff. Because,
Yeah.
you know,
It's
so
very cool that you're able to show, this is a full-size farm hog.
yes,
This is a coon coon. This is a potbelly. This is a mini pig.
right.
So people can really get an idea of size, that a mini pig doesn't mean something that stays tiny. It
Oh,
means
my
something
neck
in
hurts.
comparison to this farm hog, that it's mini compared to
Which is
that.
mini, yes, because that's what I said. When I got Maggie, Lily looked like a little baby. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh God, Lily, you're tiny. I'm like, look at you. And then even the boys next to them, I'm like, oh my God, my coons are, again, probably too big, because they were raised a little differently than they should have been, but they're mad at me because they're on a diet now. Oh,
Yeah.
but the coons, even next to Kevin, he really does look mini. When I just had Kevin only, I was like, Kevin's a big pig,
Yeah.
then I'm like, no, he's not, so when people, that word mini, and it just haunts me sometimes because everyone thinks they're going to stay teacup size or
Yeah.
whatever they think. And I'm like, listen, this is a small pig. Kevin is small, I'm like, look, and then that's when I'm able to kind of compare and contrast, and even their personalities are completely different.
Hmm.
Um, and I hate to say it because Kevin, I'm not sure why he chose violence, but he does not want anybody touching him, petting him, giving him a treat. No, I'm like, we don't touch Kevin. We always, I'm like, I can wipe his eyes, I can rub his ears, I can turn him over. I mean, he doesn't care what I do, but oh my God, he's not happy with anyone else being in his stall. So anyways, I could
Yes.
talk about this is a whole, we could do a whole another podcast of just me talking about each pig because my God, I'm obsessed.
Well, we need to do that. We
Well,
need to do that in the
and
future for
you
sure.
probably said this in other podcasts too, but the pig stigma too, everyone says that funny thing, like your room is as messy as a pigsty, that kind of stuff. And yeah, their spaces are messy, but it's their own. They make their beds, they make their little nest, they move them. Kevin, who loves stuffed animals, Lily will destroy them. Everyone has their own personality, and they don't roll around in their own poop. I don't know whoever said that. They like to poop in a corner. And
Mhm.
Kevin is only outside. He goes outside like a dog. He's litter trained, if you will, potty trained. And even my coons, they only go in one corner. They're never over by their bed. Um, Maggie's a mess. She goes everywhere because she's just, I don't know what she's doing, but everybody has their own thing, and they don't smell. Even Maggie, who is a true pig, and rolls around in mud to get cool, in the
Mhm.
winter or in the summer. In the winter, she kind of she's staying to herself, and I can see that the nest that she's made is this big, and it's funny because she's so big, the nest is like, giant. But her big nest, she keeps moving it around, and she's like reorganizing her stall and space and stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she's so funny. But I will bear hug her, and I put my face right on her, and she smells like sweet or
Yeah.
something. There's like a smell that I'm like, oh, I could bottle that, it
Mhm.
smells so good. And they don't smell, they don't sweat, they don't stink, they don't, and people are like, oh, stinky pig. I'm like, well, their poop smells, but whose poop doesn't smell,
Right. Hmm.
So that's the other thing. Oh, it smells like a barn in here. Oh, pigs. I'm like, it's because you smell poop, but
Right.
I went in the bathroom after you went to the bathroom. I mean, come on,
Yeah.
don't knock it here. So there's that too, that like weird stigma. So I think even myself, when you think of pigs, and as a kid, and when I got Floyd that first time, when I was calling everyone going, oh my God, I can't handle a pig. And now here I am with five, I think it was because I had to learn, just like I said before, I'll never stop learning, and another pig might come along and be completely different than the other, so it's more about accepting their personality and who they are, not necessarily just what breed they are or what they are, but just how they interact with me, and how they, for the most part, I think every single animal, knock on wood, just gets it, like just understands that I'm not going to hurt them.
Mm.
I've been a vegetarian since I was 14. And I'm 42 now. So it's been a long time since I've eaten any animal product. And I think they smell that on me. I think they feel that I'm not going to hurt them. I don't know what it is, but it's this amazing connection where, like I said, the coons, I just met them. I had no idea. They're giant pigs. I don't know what they're going to do. And they were like, oh, we're coming with this lady. She's got this crazy white lady is going to help us, And I was like, come on, pigs. And Maggie too. I just met her. She walked in with the harness, and I got her home, and I said, okay, this is it. And she kind of walked around, and she looked at me like, where do we go? What do we do? And she kind of was just like waiting for me to show her. And I'm like, okay. So we just went for a walk, and I bear hug her every day. I mean, she's just, and it's just so funny because that personality, I think they all just say, okay, she's going to help me. We're safe. We're good. And it kind of, it's been a really wild ride, but very fun and very, just, I can't even describe it. I don't even know the words. I don't even know the words. I just
Well,
love it.
it's incredible the amount of variety of animals that you have.
Mhm.
And I mean, there's so many things about what you do that are just amazing. I'm over here in awe.
Thank you.
So cool. When it comes to your rescue, what do you think has been like the biggest challenge?
I think um, my main challenge from beginning even till now, I'm always just going to get bigger, and I don't feel that I'm going to take less, I mean, I'd like to cap it off sometimes. And sometimes I'm like, listen, I am full. Oh my gosh, and then there's still another one that I'm like, all right, come on, make room. But for the most part, I think my biggest challenge is getting nervous about funding. Like you had mentioned, funding is hard. I need grant writers. Because I do this all myself, which again is not necessarily by choice, because someone had said like, oh, you think you know what you're doing, and I'm like, no, 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 it's not because I want to do it by myself. It's because I beg people to help me. Nobody wants to leave the house today. I still have to. I got COVID. I still had to go out and take care of everybody.
Mhm.
Everyone's like, well, I have a doctor's appointment. I'm like, so do I. And I still have to go out there.
Yep.
So it's like getting volunteers. And here's the thing, there was that big nobody wants to work, blah blah blah. Nobody wants to volunteer. It's hard, to say, hey, come and take care of all these animals in the freezing cold. I'm not a cat rescue that you can come in the house and just, scoop some litter. I mean, even the feral cats are outside. I mean, everything seems to be in their own. Now I do heat my barn, and I do heat my pigs have heaters. Everybody has heaters. And everyone's like, wait, your pigs have heater? I said, listen, Kevin needs a heater. He loves it. And he sits right underneath it on his little bed. And I'm like, he is a diva and he needs his heater. So yes, am I heating the barn? I am, which is crazy because my electric bill is ridiculous. But there are even grants. Nobody wants to give you money for bills. Like everybody wants to give you money for a specific uh situation, I guess. And I've been turned down for that. I said I needed windows for my bunny barn. It's now the critter building, but I have a building. It's built in like 1920. It was an old milk house, and I turned it into a heated, just like you'd go into a house. It's nice and warm in there. My guinea pigs are in there. My bunnies are in there, but my windows aren't very or not energy efficient. They don't open, so I can't get a screen to like blow air in there. And I said I really need a grant. I tried 3 years to get a grant, and I've been turned down every single time because they said it wasn't, for an animal. And I said, but it is though. I understand it's windows, but I'm like, I need some help here. I said, even if I pay for half. And at one point I was like, I'll buy one window just so I can open it, just so I can get, I'm like, give me money for one window. And nobody wants to do it. So that's my biggest challenge. Definitely volunteers. Like I said, I've had some really great ones come through, and then they get another job and they can't do, I get it. Like, we all have our lives. They have kids. They have, there's all kinds of things happening with sports and sickness and everything that happens. And I just feel like, although I still only take what I can do, because I understand I still have to do it. And my volunteers, again, are really only bunnies. Like, with 26 bunnies, I need help with bunnies, like, cleaning the cages and straightening them up and giving them love. Like, I can't sit out there for
Yep.
26 bunnies and pet every single one. And, so I need just someone that comes and brushes bunnies, even if it's once a month. There's things like that. That is my biggest challenge. And of course, finding people that are trustworthy. I had someone come and try to steal a bunny, and she had it in her purse.
What?
And if I wouldn't have saw it, I don't know if she would have left with it. I don't know what she was doing, because when I caught her, she acted like it was a joke. And I'm like, but if I never came out and saw that, were you gonna leave with my bunny? What are you doing? Like, I was like, just
Yeah.
ask me, take it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, but adopt it. Yes, please. You want a bunny? Which one do you want? But I was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna steal it. Like, this is crazy. So people, are probably my biggest challenge,
Yeah.
whether it's helping or finding the right ones. It's been really hard. And still, from, like I said, from day one until now, I'm trying to just be like, listen, if I can't do it, then I can't take another, and then you get the backlash of, I thought you were a rescue. Oh, I thought you can't help me. Well, then I'm going to let it go. Okay, then that's your choice. If that's really what you
Right.
want to do, you know what I mean? I'm like, I can't fit one more animal. What do you want me to do? Well, we're not giving it enough time and we need help. And I said, but I don't have enough time. I have the same 24 hours as you do. And somehow you don't have enough time for your one guinea pig, but you think I do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's getting to
Yeah.
the where I'm like, so that it's getting that's hard, because then of course I take it to heart. You try to say like, I'm a
Yeah.
little, and my motto of Jinx Monsoon from RuPaul's Drag Race is water off a duck's back, water off a duck's back. I'm like, don't let it get to you, don't let it get to you. And then I'm like reading the comment section, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, somebody's being mean.
Yeah.
So it's just that's my biggest thing, just people.
Do you take donations?
I do. I have an Amazon wish list. I have a Chewy wish list, which someone had asked me, why don't you get on that too? And I heard that there's like a Walmart wish list and a thing. And I think again, back to my challenges, I don't have the time to take care of everyone and also Google what grant I should be applying for, write the
Right.
grant, find out what wish list I should be on, sign up for it, do the thing. Yeah, I can't do that too, and I think that going forward is one of my challenges I'm trying to accomplish is to get like kind of I have a board, of course, I have board members and stuff, but I need like a committee of like fundraiser people that will help me come up with new ideas that actually want to be at the fundraisers. Because here's the other thing that's been great. I have to sit at all the fundraisers too. So taking care of all the animals, but on the weekends, I'm sitting there at my table trying to, raise money. And I'm like, I can't do one more thing.
Right.
It's getting to be where I'm like, if I don't get help here, I'm going to lose my mind. So um, fundraising and donations are always appreciated, but I need new ideas too. I think being the kind of rescue that I am, um, and not knocking anyone that does it, but I'm not a purse bingo person. I don't know about purses. I don't have the money to even go buy the purse. I don't know, but they bring in a lot of money, but I don't know how to do that. Spaghetti dinner with meatballs. I'm not going to serve meatballs. Everyone's going to be mad that I don't have meatballs there.
Yeah.
The races. I'm like, oh, I don't want to race horses. Oh my
Oh,
God. There's things that I don't want to do. Someone said something about a pepperoni roll. Fundraiser. And I said, oh my God, I'm so thankful that you would think of me, but I can't put my name on a pepperoni roll fundraiser.
right.
I just can't, I can't, they're the very animals I'm saving and I can't. And I know people eat them and you can eat all the pepperoni rolls you want. I'm not mad at you. I just can't
Right.
do it.
Right.
So as challenges come, I just try to take one day at a time. What's the new thing happening today? Okay, and I just um but I think it would be a lot easier if I did have a group of people that would help, that want to help, and I do see a lot of other rescues and places and things maybe that I wasn't aware of at the time that do take farm animals and take all the things that I take and amazing. And they have like 20 people. And I'm like, how do you have so many volunteers? And they're like, well, we pay them. And I'm like, oh, so now I need money to pay people. I can't even pay myself, so it's just a constant, constant everyday thing that I'm just trying to just get through. And as much as of a challenge it is, I still sit back at the end of the day and say, oh, cool, I did it. You know what I mean? So there's nothing that I have, I mean, again, knock on wood, as they say. Um, there's nothing that has come my way that I haven't been able to handle. And I do have a group of friends that helps, and I have the rescue community, the people that maybe don't take a chinchilla or a hamster or West Side Cats actually called me. They had a bunny dropped off at their door, and they're a cat rescue. And she goes, "Oh my gosh, there was a box was sitting there, and they're like, there's a bunny in there, not a cat, and they called me and they're like, can you help? I'm like, absolutely, come bring it here, so there's things that like even a challenge that somebody else has, I'm able to take and vice versa, and we try to help each other. But there's still a bigger need for people willing to commit to
Hmm.
and to maybe give me ideas and do that kind of stuff, because
Okay.
fundraising is hard for me.
Yeah.
Donations is hard. No one has the money, no one has the extra,
Yeah.
anything. So it's
Well,
it's been, yeah.
I would like to put something in the comments or the description, the podcast description below for
Mhm.
people. So if they want to donate, I mean, after hearing you talk, because here's the thing, that's the hardest part for people sometimes. When it comes to a rescue, before I donate to a rescue, I want to make sure that if they are rehoming these animals, that these families are educated.
Oh gosh, yeah.
especially when it comes to pigs, because I know how many pigs are abandoned and rehomed. So I
Yeah.
want to make sure that if I'm going to support somebody, that they are doing it right and you are doing it right.
Thank you.
So I want to put something below so that anybody listening can make a donation or reach out to you if anybody has skills that even ideas, anything,
Yes, yes,
then they can reach out to you and just give you some support, some ideas, whatever it is.
absolutely.
And and then below I also want to put so that people can follow you on social media
Yeah, sure.
because
I'm not as big on TikTok and all that stuff, but my cousin was like, you got to get on TikTok. You got to do this. You got to. I'm like, oh my gosh. So right now, my biggest thing, which I share a lot in my stories, and I do that. Going back to the donation thing, I do every week. I say it's time for things I need that you might have, and in my story, I say I need a metal trash can with a lid. And I know that's weird, but I need one. And some lady goes, oh my gosh, we have one that's like rusted in the back of my, do you want it? I go, actually, yes, because the inside was fine. I said, I don't care about what the lid looks like, but it was, and then people are able to donate that way too. It was no money out of their pocket. It was something that they had, I needed a metal rake. And the guy's like, I don't even use my metal rake. Do you want it? Take it. I'm like, I need it. Yes. Yeah. So stuff like
yeah.
that is huge for me. It's not always about buying something on Amazon or, and I wrote the other day, I said, did you get new towels for Christmas? I'll take your old ones, and everyone was like, wait, you will? I'm like, yes, bring the towels. So that's another big thing too. I try to just, on social media, at least it's a daily story. I like to tell, kind of what I'm doing. And just recently, I just started putting my face out there because, again, this is my first podcast. This is my first, like, here I am. And it was only because when I started, it wasn't about me. It's about the animals. It wasn't about, look what I did. Look what I did. Nope. This is this animal. This is, and so people didn't realize I was getting messages saying, hey, do you guys take this? Hey, do you? And I'm like, me,
It's
just
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 me.
me, just me. So then I was like, I guess I do have to. And somebody was like, oh, you got to own it, you got to be. And I'm like, I get it, but I was just trying really hard not to put too much out there and ask too much because I see it all the time too. Everyone's having a fundraiser every other day, and it's like, oh my god, even if I mean, I don't have the money to support, I can't even go sometimes. I feel terrible, So for me to also be adding to that, we are the same little pond of people asking the same people to constantly give. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what else can I do? So that's why I try to do that as well. So social media, I'm more active on like stories, like I said, but I have Instagram, Facebook, my website, which I try to update. That's another thing I need. I need somebody that helps me, that wants to help me with my website. And like I said, TikTok, which again, I post a video that I think's epic, and I'll get like 2 likes, and I'm like, I did all that work.
I know. I know.
So this day and age, I'm like, oh, maybe I need a social media person too. I don't know.
Mhm.
But I'm just like, I'll take what I can get with the help. And just like I said, the ideas, like you said, just that networking or that maybe you got a handyman. I mean, everyone says, here's my other thing, and I hate to be, it's not a negative, it's just something that people don't realize they do. I say, hey, I need help. And everyone goes, well, have you done this? Well, why don't you do this? Well, why don't you? And I'm like, because that's not actually helping. Like, I
Yeah.
need somebody to do it. You know what I mean? Like, I love that idea, but can you also help me now? Can you
Yes.
call the girl scouts, whatever, Eagle Scouts, whatever. And I said, but then it's me making the phone call, making the coordination, doing the thing, and then I have to be here, and then all these kids are running around, and it's like, I love that idea, but maybe you could contact them for me to make birdhouses or do, you know what I mean? And then I can just be like, yes, thank you. I need,
Yeah.
that's what I need. And I hate to say it like that, but I'm like, telling me to do more stuff isn't actually helping.
Yeah.
I really need that person that's maybe has a passion like I did, back in the day, that I wanted to help, and like, who can I help? Who can I help? It's like, yes, help me.
Yes. And it's true because, like, when you have all these animals and you have all these responsibilities, you can't do everything. You're one person.
Yeah.
So if somebody would volunteer to, do a little something for you, even if it's little, it's such a
Yeah,
huge, like, weight
absolutely.
off your shoulders.
Yes, writing an email, telling, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, things like that are that are kind of easy are just something that I don't then have to do,
Right.
um, and back to the education part, there's been one girl actually, she wrote me little signs with everyone's name on them. And I was like, yes, I love this. So I put everybody's names on the cages, and then I was like, but I wish I had a bio too. And then it's like me having to write the bio and having to write, I'm like, I wish somebody would just do this for me, which again, I know it won't take long to just type it up and print it out, but for me to have to do that also, I'm like, man, because that's part of the education as well. Some people, I've had bunnies here for years that I will not just give to anybody. I just got my ferrets actually just got adopted. I had 3 ferrets that were just in love with each other. And I get lots of applications and everyone like, I want one ferret. I have a ferret. I want one to bond with my ferret. I have, and I'm like, I have 3 and I'm not splitting them up, and there's a lot of bonded bunnies out there that love each other and I will not, they just want one bunny, and I'm like, oh no. And here's why, and then I tell them and they don't want to hear it, but it's true. It's not necessarily that all bunnies need a mate because I've had a lot of single bunnies come through here that will not bond with anybody else. However, the education part of that, people go to Rogers Flea Market and they buy a bunny for $20 because it's easier. And I'm like, that's fine. But here's the other thing, which it just happened, and it was a friend of mine. She wanted to rescue it. She felt like she needed to help that bunny. And I said, I get it, but that breeder is going to go and just make 20 more. I'm like, I don't know if that's really rescuing, but there's a fine line. But what I care about is that she thought she got 2 females. One was definitely a male, on the card and everything. It was completely wrong. It didn't have an age. It never saw a vet. It never, had fleas, had ear mites. There's all these things that happen with these animals. And I'm like, but you won't go to a rescue that has been a fully vetted, just because maybe we do a background check. I'm sorry. There's that kind of stuff that's happening. So I said, here's the thing. I would rather keep them forever, every single one of these animals as a sanctuary than give it to the wrong person just because they're mad because I won't give them an animal. So that's the other thing. This whole rescue has kind of evolved not only into much bigger than I ever thought imaginable, but it's important for the kids to come and, like I said, see pigs. Oh, that's my dog. That's Rebel. Um, but to see the animals get to not necessarily, a petting zoo, but to get to interact with all these different animals and really understand what they're getting into and see how much poop. I do that too. I won't even clean. I'm like, come on. You want a bunny? Let's come on, see what's going on in here, see what it really takes to, and how much grooming and how much stuff that you need. And I have a little bunny book club, a free little library out there, and kids pick a book and they sit inside with the bunnies and they hop all over them and they read a book, and sometimes they eat the book, and but they get to have that interaction and they get to really understand if they want a bunny. Mom comes, everyone comes, the whole family, let's come and meet this bunny and really understand what the living situation, how much space they need. And I've had people turn me away because I said, oh no, you need a bigger space than that. And they're like, what? And they're mad at me because they're like, well, I didn't realize how much space they needed. I don't want. And then they go and get a puppy. And I'm like, okay, like,
Oh, boy.
okay. But at the same time, that's part of all of this is educating the people that want to adopt them, even if they don't get it from me. And that's okay. They decide to still go get their bunny from wherever. It's fine. But at least they got to see, really, I mean, that's the thing. I really want them to have the best space. They should be able to run and jump and play and go in a tunnel and hide and do these things that they should be able to do. My bunnies have more room than most dogs have in a kennel I just feel like they need, so people get to actually see. So you're not seeing a bunny in a cage at a pet store, and thinking that, oh yeah, I'll come and take it. They're actually seeing what their environment looks like. And that's everybody. That's my goats. That's my, even the bird aviary, everyone loves to like look inside and pick which one their favorite bird is. I just love the experience of what this rescue has turned into. And I love having families come and visit, which again, we probably should add, I'm not open to just come and, visit anytime. You still have to make an appointment. But I do that a lot. I like to have families come and visit and get to see the animals. And in the winter, it's chilly and hard and everything's kind of closed. Everything looks ugly, mud's
Yeah.
everywhere. So I kind of like to do more summertime tours, but that's the most important part of all of this that's kind of evolved into an experience, not just a rest.
Yes. Yes, that's so important. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but I we have a lot of people come here for a farm tour to see the piglets, to see the pigs,
Mhm.
and they live in the city. So they've never seen a cow close up. They've never seen a pig close up. And so when they come here, they literally have the hardest time pulling themselves away. They don't want to leave.
Yeah.
So I mean, like doing those kinds of things is so important, even for people. We offer farm visits, farm tours for people not interested in a pig. That's fine.
Yeah.
Just
Just to come.
come.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, for the
Agree
experience.
too. Because, and that's the thing, most people from the city or most kids only see a petting zoo type situation, traveling petting zoo type thing. There's some places that just have, I don't know how to call it because I can't remember what it's called right now. The name is slipping me, but it's a place where you go and actually see, new baby bunnies or whatever, and they have like a little baby shower every spring. I remember, and I used to go there too as a kid and a little bit younger. Even in my 20s, I would go just because they had a kangaroo, and I was like, oh, they have a kangaroo. But you're only seeing the kangaroo in a
Right.
you don't actually see what so I love that seeing them in a space that they actually live in, not just a like a little fenced in,
Right.
that you're because again, it's more about the petting and the interaction, but I want to see them like out in the field and
Yeah.
frolicking around and when
Yeah.
especially when cows and their babies and oh that's so adorable, like I want
Yeah.
to see all that. I don't want them to just be stuck in a little 4x4 space at the
Mhm.
fair. Yeah, I mean, it's an experience, yes, but it's still I would like to see it in its natural habitat, if you
Yeah.
will.
And it's great for people to be able to do that.
Hmm.
So I have
Absolutely.
one more question for you.
Yeah.
When it comes to pigs specifically, since, I'm a pig person, what do you think is one piece of advice you would give to somebody who wanted to bring a pig home?
Ugh, definitely do research. Just do your research. And just like we said before, either schedule a visit, schedule an actual, not just a meet and greet. I mean, like come and visit that pig or a pig sanctuary or and really decide if that's what you want. I think everyone, including myself, wants a little baby piglet, and you want to train it and you want
Yes.
to, but I also think that there's a little bit of a stigma of the older pigs. They're getting, pushed kind of to the side. And I think that maybe learning more about that, like aftercare, more than just the baby and what you got to do to, I think you have to learn about them as they get older also. Like I think there's just that education. I hate to keep saying it, education, but there's so much knowledge you need with any pet, but especially a pig. And like those stigmas that I told you before, like, no, they don't actually stink. They don't, like things that you got to learn, which could be an experience in itself and learning as you go. But at the same time, if you really want it to be successful and you really want your pig to be part of your family, how are you going to not only keep it as a baby, but what are you going to do when it gets bigger? And I know
Right.
that you have a lot of educational videos on hey, my pig's doing this. What do I do? That's another thing. It's a continued education. It's not just, oh, I
Yes.
read up on it and I want a pig. It's continuing. They're going to be weird. Kids
Mm.
get weird. Everybody, like animals have their personalities and you don't know them when they're a baby. You think you do. And then they 2 years old and they got their teeth coming in and they got,
Yep.
do you have a vet that's going to see this pig? Are you going to be able to transport it? Can they come see you? I mean, there's so much more to just owning a pig and making sure it looks cute and
Hmm.
sticking sunglasses on its face and all these videos I see, and I'm like, okay, good luck. Kevin would kill me if I try to put
Yeah.
sunglasses on his face. You know what I mean? So, I think I do blame TikTok a little bit because I think people see only the good,
Hmm.
not seeing the trials and tribulations of what owning a pig is going to be.
Yeah.
Um, and they do have destructive natures. And I see more often than not, I hate it, but I see them getting loose and I see them running wild and I see people. Oh, I'm just like, I know it can happen, but I just feel like if somebody properly got ready for that and was really, really ready, with their space and whatever. Are they taking for granted that their pig's never done that before, so they're fine, kind of
Right.
thing. And then they just decide not to watch anymore because they're fine. And then there's, Yeah, these windstorms and everything. Did something get knocked over? Did something get loose? Like, are you checking your fencing? Are you, stuff like that is just like being in the rescue. You have to every day there's like a new thing thrown at you, and you have to continue. You have to be able to grow as a pet owner, as well, and kind of change your lifestyle to fit your pig.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
you didn't just bring a pig in and now you're like, hey pig, you're gonna do what
Yeah.
I say. Kind of you're gonna do what they say, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So I think that understanding is important when looking to add a pig to your family for sure.
Yeah, and realizing that they have a quite a long lifespan,
Yeah,
you
that's the other
know.
thing. Look at, yes, absolutely.
So I always say, like, I have a lot of families who come here and they want a piglet for their young daughter or their son. And the
Hmm.
first thing I always say is, are you prepared to take this pig with you in the next 3 or 4 phases of your life? Because your life is going to change a lot in the next 15 years.
Right.
So, are you have to make that decision now that you will take this pig with you no matter what, no matter if you can't go stay at college, no matter if that
Yep,
determines what college you go to, or what city you move to, or what kind of house you live in. Like, these are serious decisions that
absolutely.
your pig is going to dictate.
It's the parents too. It's not just, yeah, I get it. You're getting anything for your child. You know that in the summertime when you guys are all by the pool, what's that animal doing all day? I'm just saying, I mean, I'm not saying you have to be with it all day long, but I'm just saying, just think about those things. You want to go on vacation. Who's taking care of your
Yes.
pig? It's not just a dog or a cat. You can't just put it, somebody has to come and take care of your pig,
Right.
which is why I haven't left my house in 6 years. Because I'm like, and actually it's a true story. And I hate to say a negative about Kevin again, but I just wanted to go to a wedding. I just wanted to go to a wedding and I wanted to go to the reception and actually stay there for the whole time, and I said, Mom, can you just come and feed everybody? Don't touch Kevin. Don't feed, just throw his food in his bowl. He'll be fine. It's one day. Make sure everyone has water, whatever. And I was gone for about 40 minutes and I got a phone call and she was like, Kevin got me. I'm like, mm-hmm. Okay, why'd you try to touch Kevin? She goes, well, he had hay on his eyes, and I just want because she sees me do it. You know what I mean? I said that,
Yeah.
so I get it, but I'm his person.
Right.
Don't touch Kevin. And so now we it's this whole thing. And I'm like, this is why I can't have nice things. This is why I can't leave the house. I'm like, nobody's gonna take care of my pigs. It's 5 of them. So that's the thing too, is before you become a crazy pig lady like me, make sure that you know what your life, is this what you want for your life? And I hate to,
Yes.
my boyfriend has said before, he's heard me on an interview before, and he's like, are you trying to make them not adopt a pig? Or, are you trying to make them not? I'm like, no, I'm telling them the truth. I want them
Yeah.
to know that guinea pigs poop more than any animal in the freaking world. I'm like, guinea pigs are a mess and people want guinea pigs. I'm like, listen, you do, and that's fine. But here are your options. You know what I mean? And I say about litter, the bedding, the fleece, there's all different videos. I said, I know what people show you on in the internet. It is not true. And I will send a picture of what their cage looks like 4 minutes after I just cleaned it. I mean, that's the truth. And he's like, don't tell him that. I'm like, I'm gonna show him too, and I'm gonna make
Yeah.
him come over and clean it, and I'm gonna make
Yeah.
sure, you know what I mean. So again, it's not about, I like to share the negative as much as the positive because it's the truth. It's what's going on. It's this, it is what it is. It's
Yeah.
rescue. Um,
I'm the
so
same. Sometimes I'm talking to people and I can see their faces change. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I tend to be an oversharer,
well, same.
especially about the negative stuff, because I need an informed decision.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for homes for 6 months or a year. I'm looking for permanent homes. And if
Yes.
anything about this scares you, then please go home and think about it because I'm telling the truth.
Right. And I'm the same way. There's a lot of people that just want to, move it along because they want to take the next thing or they need to make space, whatever. And I said, well, then that's not me. And,
Right.
I'm a little outspoken. And like I said, I can ramble, I can talk about it but if nothing else, you at least got something real. And I think in a way, people don't like me for it, but then other people do like me because they know if they call me, they're gonna get the, like, I'm gonna tell you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, there's been a couple of friends that are like, we're thinking about doing that. I'm like, no. And they're my friends, so I feel bad, but I'm like, no, you know, I know that your son's not gonna, or whatever. And they're like,
Yeah.
oh, but of course I know them personally, so I can't do that with like strangers. But I do bring that up, about the pool, the summertime, the sports, I see it more often than not, and I know everybody sees it right now in rescue, dogs, cats. I don't care what you have. Is we don't have enough time. We don't have enough.
Yes.
We're not giving it the amount. Well, why did you think you did when you
Right.
got it? Why did you think you had enough time? Because it was boring in winter, or because it was COVID and you were home, or you know what I mean? Like, what was the reason? And sometimes I say that not because I'm being mean, but I'm just saying, what is it that changed, and how can you change it back?
Right.
More often than not, I'm talking to people that have contacted me to help them, and I end up helping them keep their animal, and I say, like, listen, I know you think you're not doing enough, but from what you've told me, that's plenty. That's good,
Right.
and they know you, and now you're not misplacing them, and you're not giving them to a shelter that
Exactly. Yes.
doing that too. And I'm like, again, I'm not, it's not that I don't want to take, because sometimes I'm like, I'd rather take that animal than you keep it. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't have one more space, and I'd rather you just rethink this, go back to that mentality of when you went and got that animal, and what changed, what can we do differently, or what can you to help enrich that animal's life. And sometimes it's just toys like bunnies and stuff. You know what I mean? They always say, oh, we're not paying attention to them. I said, well, I'm not paying attention to them either at this point because I have so many.
Mhm.
But you can buy an enrichment ball that puts their food, and they go and they play with it all day. I mean, it's so fun for them. And they're like, oh, you know what I mean? Like they didn't
Yeah.
even know about, I'm like, oh. So again, it's more about sometimes not talking them into it, but giving them a little bit of insight and education, continuing, like I said, continued education, with their pets, to make sure that they realize that they are probably doing just fine. I think some people maybe feel bad,
Right.
but I think a
Right.
lot of them, at least that I've come in contact with just recently, people are ready to give up. I don't know if they just don't want, they're like, or they want to get rid of it because they want to get a new one. I've heard that too. And I'm like, it just, I've heard it all. But at the same time, there are some families that I really do feel like just needed a little bit of background and some education and some help. And they didn't realize they could litter train a pig or a bunny, or and there's things that I'm like, well, if you do this, this, and that, so, and that's been rewarding too. That's just that, knowing that those people got help. It wasn't
Yes.
necessarily that I got them a animal, it's about a service, that I'm
Yes,
providing.
exactly. And I
Mhm.
gotta say, I am a huge fan. I love what you're doing. I really do. And so I hope that with this episode, I hope that we can get some donations or get some help or some volunteers your way. I would love to be able to do that for you.
Thank you. Yeah. And thank you for having me. I know I rambled a lot, so we might have to cut some of this down.
No, actually, it was a wonderful conversation. I enjoyed every second of it,
Thank you.
and I hope to have you back in the future.
Yes, please. I hope I don't have any more pigs, because 5, I think, is my limit right now. But I've also said this too. I've joked about it. I said, if somebody builds me something, I'll take more. I will.
Yeah.
Just build me something, and then I will help more. But right now, I think I do like having, like I said, one of each pig, and kind of like, that experience and whatnot. But I do need a better space. So if nothing else, maybe even a handyman that's willing to come and help, like a retired guy that wants to
Mhm.
come and help. And I'll buy all the supplies. I just need someone that knows how to do it, build it, which
Tell
would be,
us again, sorry, tell
yeah,
us
good.
again your location so that if anybody's hearing this in the location, they can.
So I'm located in like Lake Milton, Berlin Center area of Ohio, of course. And I don't have my address actually posted, because I had a couple people just kind of show up, and I'm
Yeah,
like, "Am
that's
I
okay. I
there
think,
still?" And I'm like,
yeah.
so it still is appointment only. And you can contact me by email. You can contact me honestly on Messenger. I have people contact me at 11 o'clock at night on a Tuesday, and I'm just happen to be on my phone. So I'm like, hello, I'm just talking to
Mhm.
them. But for the most part, I try to do a normal business hours. I'm trying to stick to that, so I'm not just literally working all 24 hours of the day. But Yeah, I definitely need volunteers, especially in the springtime. I mean, even if someone wants to garden and help me garden, because I do indoor vegetables as well for the animals, for the bunnies, and try to keep some kale available at all times, romaine lettuce, spinach. Um, so I need people that want to do that too, just something that just to help enrich the area and the space. So if you're local and you're willing to help or have a special hobby that you think the ranch will benefit from, something like that, gardening, flowers, I mean, just anything that you are willing to help. I think the ranch could really benefit from the community outreach too. Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, I hope we can help you out in that way.
I hope so too. This was fun though. Thank you.
It was wonderful.
It's fun. I feel like I rambled a lot, but I hope I touched on everything I needed to say.
Yeah, it was wonderful. I hope we can do it again.
Thank you.